Hi everyone, and welcome to Melanin and Medicine. My name is Remy and I am so glad to have you here with me today. In this first video, I just want to give you all a brief introduction into who I am and why I started this channel. And then a little later on, get into some fundamental and crucial MCAT study tips that I believe allowed me to be so successful when taking the MCAT. My name is Rahema, but people call me Remy. I am from Columbia, South Carolina, a recent graduate of the University of South Carolina, and I took a gap year through the 2017-2018 school year. Throughout that time, I was undergoing the medical school application process, and I was lucky enough to have reached this point where I have been accepted to 5 schools. 3 of those institutions actually did offer me full ride scholarships, and the total of all my scholarships together is worth over $600,000, and I am incredibly blessed and grateful that the years of hard work paid off and that these institutions were willing to make such an investment in me. So when I did share on social media the success of my application cycle and that I would be starting medical school, I got such incredible positive feedback from so many different people and so many questions as to how did you do it? Can you tell me how to study for the MCAT? So I thought about this and what would be the best way for me to answer everyone's questions. And then just on a deeper level, thinking about my experience going to interviews and seeing such a lack of diversity among applicants. There was more than once where I was the only African-American person at my interview, male or female, and even the lack of diversity I saw in the faculty and staff of the places I visited. And I really have decided to myself that I want to be a positive representation of what you can do and what people like me can do, and I want to offer my advice to the best of my ability to help anyone out there who is looking into going into medicine, whether you're a pre-med in college, whether you're a high schooler, or whether this could possibly be a career change for you. I want to share my advice and tips so that you can have the best application cycle possible. So what I see for this channel is for me to make several videos giving tips on MCAT studying, MCAT test taking, filling out the MCAT application, interviewing, personal statements, choosing a school, all of that, as well as documenting my medical school journey once I do begin in the fall of 2018. So let's get into some fundamental MCAT study tips. I did take the MCAT in July of 2017. When I got my score back, I scored in the 85th percentile, which means that I scored better than 85% of people who took the test in 2015 and 2016. So the way AAMC does percentile ranks is based on scoring from previous testing years. So my first tip for MCAT studying is to make a schedule. It is really important for you to have personal discipline when it comes to studying, and when you make a schedule that you stick to it. Second of all is to not give yourself too little or too much time to study. If you give yourself too much time to study, it is likely that you're going to forget things. Too little time is going to prevent you from being able to thoroughly go through all the information that you have to cover. So I think standard is about 2 to 3 months of studying if you're going to do it full time, or if you are doing it during a semester, I would say 1 semester of 2 to 3 hours a day of studying. I personally took the MCAT in July, so I took 2 months off from work prior to my exam, where I studied full-time between 5 and 8 hours every day, every weekday. There are many places online that you can go look where people have made schedules based off of what you need to cover for a certain day in a certain time frame, and I went off of something like that provided by Kaplan, about a 2-month, 8-week study schedule. So my next tip is to use the AAMC's practice tests. They are the actual institution who delivers the MCAT exam, and I think that their practice tests are the most accurate reflection of what the actual MCAT exam is like. I've taken practice tests given by Kaplan and by Examkrackers, which are wonderful resources, but I do believe that the AAMC's official practice tests are the most accurate reflection of what you're going to see and experience during your MCAT test day. Now I will give you all a demo on how to access those. You'll start off by going to AAMC.org, and then you can go over to students and applying to medical school. Then you'll come down on the drop-down menu to preparing for the MCAT exam, and you scroll down and you'll see the different options that they have, and you can choose practice for the MCAT exam. And you'll see that they have 3 different full version practice tests. And when you click on one of them, it gives you the option to go down and buy them. And that is what I did. I used those official practice tests to give myself a true reflection of what my score might be like. And you can add it to your cart, and then it'll prompt you to sign in, and you're good from there. My next set of advice is to get a great set of study materials. There is a lot of information covered on the MCAT exam, and there are many providers such as Kaplan, Examkrackers, the Princeton Review, who offer books, study classes, things like that to cover everything you need to know, because they do know the topics that are covered on the MCAT exam. I personally did not take an online or in-person class. I got a set of Examkrackers and Kaplan books. I purchased the Examkrackers, my friend let me use the Kaplan, and I ended up liking the Kaplan better, so that is what I used once I was able to look at both of them side by side. I do believe that if you think that you will lack the motivation or the discipline to actually sit down with the books and self-study, that you should do an online class or in-person class where you go in and learn the material. But if you have the confidence in yourself to stick with it, you can save money and just use the books. Public libraries do also carry the MCAT Study collections, so if you are unable to purchase them, you can always go to a library. I'm not sure how it goes with checking them out, but you definitely can go and study in the library and use those resources that they do have available. Also, Khan Academy, if you don't want to spend money on a set of books, has an incredible library of MCAT study videos, which I did use a lot of, especially when I was having trouble understanding something from a textbook. I went to Khan Academy, and they have several videos very well broken down and made easy for you to understand with drawings and things like that. It's a lot. I learn a lot better from seeing drawings, and I will show y'all a demo of how to get to Khan Academy. For Khan Academy, I usually just start out by Googling Khan Academy MCAT, because they have so many different topics that they cover. I want to specifically get to the MCAT section. And once you click on the first link, you'll see that they have a section that is for practice problems that all are passage-based, just like on the MCAT exam. Read the passage, and then they give you a few questions based on the specific passage. And you can choose an answer and check your answer. And they also do give step-by-step solutions, and you can choose the step-by-step solution and get hints before you actually choose an answer. Khan Academy does keep track of how you move along. So we'll go down to a video section, biomolecules, which is a huge part of the MCAT exam. And we're going to scroll down to a section. These are ones that I've already done because they are blue. So we're going to go to a section that I hadn't watched the videos and click on the video. And you'll see that you're in the biomolecule section under DNA technology. We're on the gel electrophoresis video, and Khan Academy does lots of drawing, and they have someone speaking. And the cool thing about them is that they do have a transcript of what's going on. So if you're taking notes and you couldn't write down fast enough, you can still see what they said and write it down. And you can adjust the speed of how you listen to it. I personally sometimes would listen to topics on 2 times the speed if it was something I was already somewhat familiar with. My next tip is to study in the environment that mimics the environment you will be in for taking the actual test. This actually is something that I learned in my MCAT studying in the psychology section, and that your memory recall for information is best in situations that mock how you learn the information, which means listening to music, studying with other people, or in noisy areas, things like that are not the best way for you to be able to recall the information. When you do take the MCAT exam, it will be completely quiet and you will be by yourself. So when you get used to learning information with music playing in your ears, that's not the same as when you're actually going to be taking the test and having to recall what you hear. So it is important that you study in silence, because that'll be the best way for you to remember when you are in that silent environment taking the MCAT exam. Now, the AAMC also has resources besides just practice tests for you to take. They do have section banks and they do have flashcards. The section banks I really did love, where it's about 100 questions from each section, and you can go through and see how they word questions, how they format them, and they do have the correct answers with explanations for you to understand why is this the correct answer. If you get something wrong, you need to understand why you got it wrong so you won't make that mistake again. So I hope all of these tips have been helpful to you. They were definitely helpful to me, and I am glad that I found a system that works for me. But at the end of the day, everybody is different, and it is important for you to learn your study style and what works best for you. And just because something works for someone else doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. So you need to know yourself, know how you learn best, learn your pace, and when you can cater to your learning needs, that's how you'll end up being as successful as you can be. So thank you for tuning in. You can like and subscribe to my channel to be notified next time I post a video, and happy studying.